Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back again from Cover 2 Critique, episode number 2. And this time I will be reviewing What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. And I have a lot to say about this book. First and foremost, let's bring up the notes that I wrote on my phone. This is a reimagining of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher, or The Fall of the Usher House. I don't know what that's about. I would assume that it's loosely about whatever this is, since this is a reimagining of it, but it's funny. For someone who claims he likes to read, I have not read the classics. Like, at all. Like, I have not read Frankenstein, I've not read The Count of Monte Cristo, the Dorian Gray. I haven't really read any of Lolita. Is that considered a classic? I'm not sure. That's one of those books that I want to read. Like, I know what it's about. I want to read it. Anyways, I digress. The point is, I do not know what Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the Usher House. I know nothing about that. But this, What Moves the Dead, is apparently a reimagining of that. Um, I will say this was my first book I've ever read by T. Kingfisher. And I had read about half of it, but I lost the book in a move, and I had to rebuy it. And honestly, I don't mind having supported her twice because this is a really good freaking book. Great imagery. T. Kingfisher is really great at painting and describing these real vivid scenes, these real vivid settings. She's real good at describing the scenery that her characters are in, and it was never really a dull moment. I never really had to stop and think and really picture where my characters were or what was happening because she does a real great job of doing that herself. Um, it does seem a little bit predictable, but they do throw in these twists and turns to kind of throw you off guard. There were times where I thought one thing was connected to another thing. I'm trying to review this without spoiling it. I guess though, having said it's a reimagining of the fall of the House of Usher, might be spoiler like, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what is or isn't really taken from that. I mean, the main characters, their last names are, well, not the main characters, but some characters in the book have the last name Usher. So obviously that was taken from it. But other than that, I'm not sure what exactly was or wasn't taken from there and turned into a reimagining. But yeah, the plot is simply put, doesn't really give a plot synopsis on the back or in any of the front panel covers. But apparently, it's somebody, the main character, Alex, gets a message from one of her friends, a letter from one of her friends, saying that she's very sick and ill. And then Alex Easton goes to visit her friend, and yeah, she sees that she is ill, and it's her and a couple other people that are trying to figure out what happened to her. Why is she so ill? This is a very mysterious illness, and is it affecting other people? And how to combat and how to kind of get rid of this disease or this illness or whatever it is that's plaguing the people of this house. Um, so yeah, in regards to the mysterious illness, it is kind of, I don't want to say predictable, but you do have kind of like these preconceived of, oh, I think it's going to be this. This is the reason, or this is where the mysterious illness comes from. But it throws in some twists and turns that kind of throws you off guard, and now you're trying to think like, okay, is it this? Is it that? Is it the other? What's the cause of this mysterious illness? Can it be X? Can it be Y? Can it be Z? And it will have you playing around with those for a time, which I really like. Um, I will say though, the ending of the book was a little anticlimactic. Um, I didn't really expect. I feel like it fitted well though. Like it wasn't anticlimactic, but it just wasn't as like what I thought it would be. But it wasn't bad. I feel like if it was too action packed, it probably would have worked less in its favor. If I'm being honest, but there are some things that I wish she could have drawn out because, like I said, T. Kingfisher does a real beautiful job at painting scenery and images so vivid. So I feel like maybe it could have been not that the ending was anticlimactic, but maybe it could have been described and fleshed out a bit better. There was some dull world building. There were some questions that I had that were not answered, like what are the origins of this mysterious illness and some of the other stuff. That was probably like the main question that I was left unanswered was how did this even spring? Like the origins, what was the end goal? Some of the stuff that were unquestioned, but she addressed it in the author's note and said that she did have a bunch of stuff for this book that she had to kind of like scrap for brevity's sake. I think it was either for brevity's sake or because like her one of her editors told her to like not leave it in because it would be like too convoluted or something. So she did have this whole world building lore, this whole backstory behind some of the stuff that she wasn't able to include. So I really can't fault her for that. Um, the character development, it wasn't lackluster, but some characters really weren't well developed. I mean, they were, but they weren't. We get enough basic information that's sufficient enough for the time we spent with these characters. This is a short read, about 160 pages, so you don't really spend much time with the characters. So I would say the character development that is presented is enough just to get a basic understanding of who these characters are, because we're not going on this deep introspective journey with these characters. This is more of what I would call like an outward adventure from like my last review. I said that about Ultra 85. It was more or less about the story and what's going on as opposed to an introspection of a self-fulfilling journey where like you find the characters find themselves. It's not really that kind of um a story, but it had a gripping narrative. It kind of had me locked in as soon as I started reading. I read it in a day. Like I said, it's very short, but I also had things I had to do. And every time I had to put down the book to go do something, I kind of groaned a little bit like, oh, I really don't want to. I want to continue reading, but I got shit I have to do. So, yeah, it was a real gripping narrative. I really didn't want to put it down. And like I said, it was a short read, and I kind of wish that I could spend more time with the characters. Not that we had to spend any more time. It wasn't short in a bad way. It gave us it did what it had to do. It told the story, and it told it really damn well. But it was one of those things like when you finish a really good video game and you sit there and it's bittersweet and you just watch the end credits to reflect on what you've been through, the characters you've met, the story that's been told, and you're like, damn it, I want more. So you replay the game again, and then you replay the game again. And that's kind of what this book is. It's a real good book. And it's funny because I'm reading the author's note and she's talking about Mexican Gothic, which I have. I have Mexican Gothic, and she was singing praise to the book, saying, "Oh yeah, that book was really good, and it kind of like inspired and influenced this book too." She's like, "I had the idea for this book, but then I read Mexican Gothic, and yeah, that kind of like sparked something in me." And it's funny because I bought What Moves the Dead and Mexican Gothic at the exact same time. Um, and yeah, that's really all I had to say about this book. If I had to give it a final rating, I would say a 4.7 out of 5. It was really good, a short read, but a good read, and I recommend it for anyone in general. I mean, if you're a horror fan or you like thrillers, then this would be a good book. But also, if you just like good stories, if you love the art of books, the art of storytelling, if you like reading, this is definitely something you need to have on your shelf. And I'm excited too because I have another book called Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher, and I'm excited to start that too. But I think I might give Mexican Gothic a try first. Might, no, I will. I'm not the type of guy to really start a book and not finish it. But with that being said, I forgot to mention There is also another book in the series called What Feasts the Night, and I'm kind of excited to see what that's about, where it goes right here. What Feasts at Night. And I want to know if it expands upon what was said in this book, if it goes more in depth about the mysterious illness. Maybe there's a different mysterious illness. Maybe there's something more. Maybe it goes deeper and answers some of my questions I had about the lore and world building. But that's really all I had to say about this book. It's a good book, and I highly recommend it.